From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you? I'm looking forward to today's conversation, and we have a special guest with us again.
I'm doing great, Steve. I love when we have our guests, especially this one. Always a great conversation when he's on.
So, without further ado, we get to welcome back Dan Ferrisi, Group Editor, Commercial and Security with Emerald, and he is in charge of Commercial Integrator and Security and Sales Integration Publications. Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, James. Again, such a pleasure to be with both of you. It's great to connect in person at industry events, but it's also, of course, great to connect with you on the pod and to share our audience's questions with you. What a privilege to get an opportunity to share our audience's, kind of questions about or uncertainties about or wonderings about programming with those like you who knows it, the whole category so well.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate you being here. And if you aren't familiar with Dan, you're not really listening to our podcast because Dan is on quite often and we enjoy having him. And he really gives us a good chance to change the perspective where James and I get to answer some of the questions that he's posing. If you want to hear more of Dan, you can listen to last week's episode as well as some others, episodes 236 and 237, and then many more before that. So, Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I will once again say that I'm kind of here as a conduit for the commercial integrator audience. So if you do have questions for James, for Steve about programming, hopefully I'm invited on again in the future and I'll be able to ask them. You can just reach me at dan.ferrisi@emeraldx.com with those programming related questions. But here's one I had in the queue from another of our readers. What should integrators know about hiring and retaining internal programmers? And I'll just note, we talk about hiring and retention a lot at Commercial Integrator. We have a lot of hand wringing in the industry broadly about hiring and retaining high quality, qualified talent. So I'm interested in how that applies to internal programmers and what integrators should know about them.
So this is a really important question, Dan, and I, as a business owner and as somebody who does recruit and employ and hopefully retain programmers and software developers, I live this quite often, and um, it's important first off to understand the makeup of a programmer because it may not be the makeup of the person hiring or maybe of many of the other people on staff. And we talk a lot, I'm a big advocate of personality profiles, and I mention the DISC profile quite often. And if you do follow that, programmers tend to be a C personality type and or even a CS. C is standing for compliant. S is standing for stability. There's many other adjectives that you could use, but I'll describe a little bit about that. Programmers are also introverted typically. They, you know, like to work independently. They like to work in a quiet space. They don't like necessarily to be put on a pedestal or have a spotlight on them, but they do like to be considered, and they still do have feelings, and as an S personality type, they're supportive. They like to help other people succeed. They may not always take the lead, but they want the desirable outcome. They really take a lot of pride in the work that they do, and they want to do it very methodically and very analytically is really what the basis of who they are. They don't like when people make light of the work that they do. They want it to be viewed as important as they feel it is. So that's just a little bit of a background of who a programmer is. And one of the things when you're hiring is that if you are coming across people that really don't fit that mold, I'm not saying that they couldn't be a good programmer, but many times they're going to have to really stretch outside their comfort zone to fit that role. And they may not long term be happy doing it because it creates stress when you're not being who you are. So I'll get off of my personality type uh, rant for a bit and just talk a little bit too, just about the importance that what programmers are looking for. Programmers want to be able to have a career path. They want to know that a company's going to invest in them. They want to be able to achieve certifications and be trained. That to me, I think, is very important. And not all employers look at that, because a lot of them are fearful of that, because they feel like they're investing in somebody that may ultimately leave. And I know James, he said many times about that, and I'll let him share. But it's important, I think, to show a program or a pathway. Um, while they can do repetitive tasks and they can be very good at them, they also want to be able to have some creativity, and have some liberties to do some things differently. Um, they want to know that their voice is being heard, and they want to be able to contribute. I think that involving them in designs, and letting them interact with clients, and giving them the guardrails to be able to do stuff like that would be very important. Sometimes they may be too honest. That's one thing to be wary of. But what I've also found too, and this may not just be related to programmers, is that you have to really keep it interesting for them, because people these days tend to go from job to job after maybe 4 or 5 years, or I think that it's just become more of a common thing of younger generations. So um, letting them giving them all of those um, luxuries and privileges, I think, will be important. But of course, making sure that there's checks and balances. So that's kind of my opening take on it.
All that is, great. I love hearing Steve talk about that. He really nails it. Um, I'll everyone knows my journey into leadership management is new. It's been ongoing, been training on it, and there's a lot of sayings out there. And Dan, you mentioned during one at recording, I bring a lot of haikus and stuff to these things, and I do gravitate to them. So one, as Steve kind of mentioned, there's a cartoon out there. Just searching the internet, you'll find it, and it's two business people speaking, and one of them says, "What if we train them and they leave?" And the other person responds, "What if we don't and they stay?" And so that is the conundrum as leaders and managers we always deal with. Richard Branson, he has that famous quote of train people well enough that they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. Um, and then I don't know if either you or our listeners follow Simon Sinek. He has a great one with a coffee shop worker. If you haven't heard it, go out there and find it. I'll summarize it real quick. He's at a hotel and he sits down for a cup of coffee. The coffee shop guy stopped by. Simon goes home. Do you like your job? And without missing a beat, responds, I love my job. So he asked him why that response? Why is this company doing to give that response? And he said, well, throughout the day, my managers, and not even just my managers, all managers stop in and go, how can I help? How can I
Mm.
make your job better? Um, and then the person goes on and goes, I also do a coffee shop at another location. And down there, managers are trying to catch you doing something wrong. So there, I just keep my head down, do my job, and get out of there. I don't love my job there. Same
Mm.
person,
Hmm.
different
Wow.
environments, different outcomes, different experience you're getting because of that. As leaders, as managers, our job is not to do the work. It's to take care of the people who do the work. And that's very hard, especially for new managers to learn. Um, so really, it's if you treat somebody that they want to stay and they feel support, that they feel heard, they are challenged, all that stuff, they're gonna want to stay there. But I do think Steve brought up a very good point, especially with the new generation, is we as managers and leaders can no longer say a person is going to be a career person. They are job hopping. They want new challenges. They want to change things around. So we can't sit here there and be like, well, I'm going to fence you in here because they're going to go quicker. Our job is, I kind of treat it as, a parent. You want your kids to do better than you. You want your employees to do better than you.
I think all of that is fascinating, and there's so many different takeaways. We could go in a million different directions with this, but I'm just going to try to summarize, if for my own benefit, what you said, James. The idea that you certainly don't want to fence people in, you don't want to make them feel like they're trapped with you, but you do want to give them the training and the room to be able to grow within your organization. That anecdote you said, what if we don't train them and they stay? Then we're going to be stuck with someone who is not upskilled to their potential because we're so afraid that if we give them skills, they're going to leave. I think that's a great point. And what you said, Steve, the personality type familiarity that you have, talking about like exactly what they're looking for. They want a career path. They want respect for the work that they do, but they have a certain humility about they themselves. They don't need to be in the spotlight as individuals. They don't need to be, carved onto Mount Rushmore, but the work that they do should be respected. Their skills should be respected, and they should have a career path if they want it within your organization. It shouldn't just be a clock in, clock out job. If they want to invest in you for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there should be some kind of a cognizable path where they can do that, and it's not just a clock in, clock out. Is that like a decent summary? Because I want to make sure that all of our listeners are kind of understanding the many nuances of all the knowledge you've shared.
It's quite good. Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing that I would add too is if you want to take a little bit of a different look on it, is from the employee or the programmer's perspective, what are the things that they should do to also find themselves in a better place and be desirable, and I think that there's a few tips that we might be able to provide there as well.
We'd love to hear them.
For me, I think that one thing is understanding that they're part of a business and what they do is very important, and the technology is really what we sell, but it has to be done in a way that makes the business run. So
Mm,
it has to be done within the boundaries of the project, and it has to be, and there needs to be profitability thought of, even though we don't want to minimize the effort that goes into what we do. That's a lot of times why there's some urgency and some deadlines, and not all programmers enjoy that part of
mm,
things. They do have a little bit of an artistic side to them, and they don't necessarily want to have those limitations. If I was going to tell somebody, a tip that was looking for a job, is I would recommend that they bring some things to the table, so that they are contributing while they are also learning and while the company is investing in them, so that there is a balance and there is a two-way street, and they are looking out for the well-being of the company, as the company should be looking out for their well-being.
yeah, yeah, it can't be a one-way street. I completely agree. James?
100%. I'm actually going through interview processing right now for a position on my team. And one thing I really love about where I work, they did it with me, we're doing with all the people on the IT team and when they go through interview process, is we make sure that it's clear to them that not only are we interviewing them to make sure they're a good fit for us, they need to be interviewing us. And are we a good fit for them? And we tell them, I like when I talk to them, I'm like, don't you should be interviewing us because sure we're the right fit for you, and we're providing every information we can that'll help you make an educated decision. And that just shows you that like people, you have power. Like, yeah, you may be looking for a job, so you might feel like you don't have power, but you have power. And you got to use it, especially as a programmer. Like Steve said, we're very a lot of programmers are, invert, they put their head down, get the job done, and they may feel like they can't ask for things or they can't, well, I just got to get the job. I just got to do this. No, you got power, use it. Make sure that they're good because if people don't want, like I always say, people don't wake up and go, I'm gonna be bad at my job today. Everyone goes out and want to do a good job. Sometimes the environment's not right for them. And there's not anything wrong with the environment itself, and it's not anything wrong with the person. And that's where Steve is great with the personality, is some people just don't meld. Um, I also like to sum it up, and I talked to another coach about this. This is a soccer thing, is I like to summarize some things as people are like popcorn. You apply heat to popcorn, it pops, but not every kernel pops at the same time. Some pop early, some pop mid, some pop late, some don't pop at all. It doesn't mean the heat's wrong. It just means it's not the right environment for them.
Yeah. I think that is a great point. I really do. And it's interesting when you mention the idea that like you should be interviewing not just the candidate, but the candidate should be interviewing you. I would kind of analogize it to a conversation I've had with a lot of integrators that not every yes is necessarily a good yes for that job. Is that job good for you? Is it going to be profitable for you? Is it going to be an endless time suck? Are they going to be a problem client? Just because a client is saying yes, you don't necessarily have to say yes in return. They should be interviewing you, you interviewing them, and deciding, is this going to be a good pairing? And the same thing for the job market. Is this going to be a good pairing? Not just, oh, thank goodness they said yes, let me jump on that, because it may not be a good yes ultimately.
And from an employer's perspective too, if you get into something, whether it's in the beginning, the middle, or closer to the end, if and it doesn't feel right, say something, because I would rather know that you spoke up and that you brought it to my attention than you walked out the door and you didn't give me a chance to resolve it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Fascinating.
Oh, sorry. All I was going to say 100% as I keep telling my team is I can't fix what I don't know.
Right.
I don't know about, I can't fix. Just like let's throw it into our programming world that people might understand a little bit. If someone's having a problem with your code because there's a bug in your code, but they're not telling you there's a problem, they just switch it to another programmer. That's the same thing. Like you're not telling your boss, hey, there's a problem here, and letting your boss fix it. Like you get an opportunity to fix your bug in your code, let them fix the bug in the environment, in the culture, or whatever it is. Maybe they can't. Maybe you're not able to fix your bug. They can't fix the culture. You do have to switch. Cool. But if you don't ask, you will never know. And if they don't know, they can't fix it.
As they say, the squeaky wheel is the one that gets oil, and you got to make sure if you do have a concern, to your point, James, speak up. And if it's remediated, that's great. If it's not, then you understand it's not going to be. But I think it's a very good point. Give them a chance.
Mhm. Well, it's probably a good place to end this. I really enjoyed this conversation. And thank you, Dan, for bringing this question to us. And I'm sure that in the future, you'll continue to bring such great questions and conversations to our audience. And I hope that this helped to educate some of your listeners and viewers and readers as well.
You have no doubt that it did. I'll continue to come back anytime you invite me. I really appreciate the platform. Again, not for me, but for our audience, for the commercial integrator audience to have their questions answered. So thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much, James. I will say if anyone's looking for me, you can find me on LinkedIn where I tend to be pretty active. Commercialintegrator.com, securitysales.com, or Emerald, our parent company, you can find it emeraldx.com. But again, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. And we look forward to having you back very soon.
Thanks.
Uh, James, any closing thoughts? And also, how can people reach you and continue some of these conversations?
Oh, again, this is great, Dan. I love it. I know, we talked more management leadership, so I hope our listeners listen. I hope it's valuable. Love topics like this just as much as I love programming. Again, if you want to get a hold of me, Google me, you'll find me. I'm in the Ask the Programmer community on LinkedIn. Again, I'm out there.
So please reach out to James and reach out to me. LinkedIn is a great place for me. At Steve Greenblatt is my handle typically. But we really want to continue to engage with our audience. And we recently had somebody reach out to us who was a guest on our show, and we'd like to repeat that. And we'd also like to continue to have some of the discussions that need to be had around programming and make the audience, make the community of programmers out there feel supported. So please reach out to us in any of the places, as well as reach out to Dan because he is so great at building community and leading discussions. So please connect with him. Um, if you are listening to this podcast, you can also view us on YouTube. You can, if you are viewing it on YouTube, you can take us on the go in your favorite podcast player. I will also say that my company, Control Concepts, is a supporter of this podcast, and we build some of the pieces that programmers use to make their systems work. Whether you're integrating devices or adding functionality to your systems, you can find all of that at controlconcepts.net. So we really appreciate you being with us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Ask the Programmer.